A thought delivered to me March 14, 2017, from my ancestors, the day after I was fired from my job. Monday, March 13, 2017. I'm at my job at the National Basketball Association's Manhattan office in New York City. At approximately 2:30 p.m., I receive a call on my desk from my manager. I'm asked to come down to the 11th floor from the 14th. At that moment, a flash warning signal came over me as if I were Spider-Man. Only the flash came from my gut. Something is up, and not in a good way, the message conveyed. But I was ready. I hadn't been back a full week from my latest business trip to Costa Rica, and while there, had an epiphany of sorts that my time was near. I walked down 3 floors, not in fear, but rather a combination of anxiety and excitement, knowing things were about to be different. When I walked in, there sat my manager, Tim Frank, an NBA human resources rep, and 2 security guards, not to mention the other 3 stationed strategically down the hallway and near the floor exit I saw as I entered the floor. Guess they think I'm gonna go off or something, I thought to myself, with a really is that serious smirk on my face. The woman from HR spoke as my manager looked somewhat in a stupor. I knew coming my job was about to be terminated, but I was more curious as to what for. It wasn't because of my work performance. In the 12 years I worked for an MBA, I always received great reviews and praise for my work ethic, creativity, and team play. No, this was something different. "Are you a writer?" the HR blurts out as I sat down. I said calmly, "Yes." She asked, "Do you have a business outside of working for the NBA?" I replied, "Yes, I do," not feeling the need to tell her I had been writing and publishing a magazine for 24 years at the time, well before I was hired here. She then asked, "Are you affiliated with something called the Ghetto Times and Black Land Matters?" I responded proudly, "Yes, I am. 2 businesses of mine." As I said, I could see my manager looking like he should say something, but didn't know what to say. Whether he would be in favor of or against me, I couldn't say, and it really didn't matter at this point. The HR rep then followed. "Well, we find what you're doing, and more so your words, to be racially violent, and that's something that does not align with us here at the NBA, so we are terminating you effective immediately." As I glanced at the 2 security guards' staunch stares, who were POATists by the way, I guess they were expecting me to get lit or something and start with a barrage of 3 Stooges slaps about the place. Instead, I retorted, "Okay, that's fine," standing up and getting ready to walk out. "Hold up," she shouted, shocked that I was so eager to be out. "We need you to sign some forms before you leave." Still with a baffled look on his face, my manager was then instructed to retrieve my things from my desk. I sat there with a focused look on my face, telling myself to show no emotion. There would be no begging for my job nor explaining my writings to this white woman and company who already had their mind made up. Interestingly enough, as she pulled my termination paperwork out of a folder, I noticed inside it were several printouts of my works. She even had a printout of the cover of my first book, Analytical Cogitations. I thought to myself, she was probably hoping I'd deny my writings so that she could present it to me and watch how I'd react. Clearly, they had done some research on my personal life, and I wasn't at all embarrassed nor apologetic of it. What I realized is that they felt threatened. It had to be intellectually, because I had never presented myself as doing any physical harm. I imagined when they began reading what I wrote, citing historical particulars focused on the mental, spiritual, and physical upliftment of diasporic African people from global white dependency, they must have seen me as a spook on the inside that could possibly influence their cash cow commodity. This could potentially affect their bottom line, the continued monetary exploitation of the black athlete. My getting fired wasn't a shock. I have been wanting to quit for at least 6 years, as I learned in my 12th semester. In order to advance in corporate America, you got to kiss your boss's ass indefinitely to get ahead. And that, yes, there is racism that exists in a league whose wealth is based off the star-studded revolving door talent of roughly 500 professional basketball players, nearly 80% of them being Poatis. Well, an ass kisser I'm not. And through the years, as the job decided to tack on more hours at the same pay rate, adding only a 1 or 2% pay hike each year, having several of my ideas implemented into their brand while not getting recognition nor any kind of bonus, and not once being promoted nor getting a raise while others did, I decided I was going to milk this job as long as possible, doing only what was required of me and nothing more. I had actually planned to leave my job in 2016 after the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Golden State Warriors in the NBA Finals. But because I was still seduced in the spell of comfort of an alleged steady paycheck and benefits, I stayed, which is something many of us fall victim to. But as I stated, reflecting on my Costa Rican epiphany from a week prior, being fired wasn't totally orchestrated by the league. It was the ancestors telling me to get off my backside and do the work I was born to do. In summation, I was being fired not because of my work performance, but because of my beliefs freely expressed on my social media pages as well as my own platform. Something I did on my own time, not during work hours, by the way. So here's the news flash. If you didn't know, in an attempt to introduce a heightened form of corporate slavery, companies are now monitoring the status of their employees off the type of content they post and share on their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages. Now, I knew I had a lawsuit in the making. However, I realized that was not my destined path to tribe. I wasn't going to waste my time going to the U.S. EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, created by the Civil Rights Act of 1964, I might add, to beg for residents back on the corporate plantation. Like a growing trend of a few of my friends, and again at the urging of the ancestors, this was time for me to step fully into my purpose and aspire higher by hiring myself. So I stepped, head up, proudly walking tall. I walked away from corporate America vowing not to return or to stay out as long as I can, while at the same time bringing my side businesses to the forefront. Mind you, I've been an entrepreneur since 1993, but I became an exclusive one March 13th, 2017.